The alarm blared through Dae-hyun's helmet for the third time that morning. He slapped the side of it with his gloved hand, leaving a smudge of grease across the visor. The red warning light continued to flash, telling him what he already knew. The mining station's external sensor array was malfunctioning again. It was always malfunctioning. That's what happened when you bought the cheapest equipment from the lowest bidder. He floated outside the station, tethered by a single safety line that he probably should have doubled. The asteroid field stretched out before him in every direction, chunks of rock tumbling slowly through the void. Some were small as pebbles. Others were massive as mountains. All of them were worth money if you could crack them open and pull out the minerals inside. Dae-hyun had been working on Keltara 7 for 2 years now. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't even particularly safe. But it paid well, and nobody asked too many questions about where you came from or what you were running from. Most of the crew were like him. Humans who didn't quite fit anywhere else. Humans who chose the frontier because the core worlds had no room for people who colored outside the lines. His supervisor's voice crackled in his ear. Dae-hyun, status report. Still broken, still fixing it, Dae-hyun replied, twisting a wrench around a bolt that had probably been welded in place by radiation. Give me 10 minutes. You said that 20 minutes ago. Then give me 30 minutes. He grinned even though nobody could see it. Taemin hated when he did that. The station commander was all about rules and procedures and doing things by the book. Dae-hyun was more of a figure-it-out-as-you-go kind of guy. He finally got the panel open and started rewiring the sensor connections. The work was mindless, which meant his brain wandered. He thought about the message from his brother he'd received last week. The one asking when he was coming home. The one he still hadn't answered. Home felt like something that belonged to a different person. A younger person who still believed things could be fixed. A shadow passed over him. Dae-hyun looked up, expecting to see one of the larger asteroids drifting by. Instead, he saw something that made his heart stop. It was massive, easily the size of a shuttle. Its body was covered in black scales that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. 6 legs ending in claws that could shred metal. A long tail with spikes running down its length. And a head full of teeth that belonged in nightmares. A void reaver. Every species in the galaxy knew about void reavers. They were the monsters that parents warned their children about. The predators that had wiped out entire colonies. The creatures so dangerous that military protocol said to evacuate first and ask questions never. Dae-hyun had seen the training videos. He knew that a single adult reaver could take down a warship. This one was smaller than the ones in the videos. Younger, maybe. But still big enough to kill him without trying very hard. Dae-hyun! Taemin's voice exploded in his helmet. Get back inside, now. But Dae-hyun didn't move. He couldn't. Because now that his initial terror was fading, he noticed something wrong. The reaver wasn't attacking. It wasn't even moving much. It was caught in a tangle of mining cables and debris. One of its legs bent at an angle that looked painful. And it was thin, too thin. He could see the outline of its ribs beneath those black scales. The creature turned its head toward him. Its eyes were yellow like twin suns. They stared at each other across the void. Dae-hyun waited for it to lunge, to snap, to do something violent. Instead, the reaver just looked at him. There was something in that look. Not quite intelligence, but not quite animal either. Something in between. I'm calling the fleet, Taemin said. Stay where you are. Don't move. Don't even breathe wrong. Dae-hyun reached into his tool belt and pulled out his lunch ration. It was a protein bar that tasted like cardboard and sadness. He ate one every day and hated it every day. But right now it might be useful. What are you doing? Taemin's voice had gone from angry to terrified. Something stupid, Dae-hyun admitted. He unwrapped the protein bar and threw it toward the reaver. His aim was good. The bar floated through space and bounced off the creature's snout. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the reaver snapped forward lightning fast and caught the protein bar in its jaws. It chewed once, twice, and swallowed. Then it looked back at Dae-hyun. Waiting. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Dae-hyun muttered. He pulled out his emergency rations. 3 more bars. He threw them one at a time. The reaver caught each one, eating them quickly but not frantically, like it had manners. Like it knew that if it was patient, more food would come. When the last bar was gone, the reaver made a sound. Not a roar or a growl. Something softer. Almost like a chirp. Then it started struggling against the cables that trapped it, but without the panic from before, more methodically. Dae-hyun, get away from that thing, Taemin ordered. But Dae-hyun was already moving closer. He activated his cutting torch and started burning through the cables. The Reaver watched him work, its yellow eyes tracking every movement. Up close, he could see scars across its scales. Old wounds. This creature had been through a lot. The last cable snapped. The Reaver pulled itself free, flexing its injured leg carefully. Then it turned to face Daehyun. They were less than 3 meters apart now, close enough that the creature could kill him before he could even scream. Instead, the Reaver dipped its massive head. Just slightly. Just enough. Then it turned and began pulling itself along the asteroid fragments, moving away from the station, but slowly, looking back every few seconds. Like it was checking if Daehyun was following. "I need to come back inside," Daehyun said into his comm, finally showing some sense. Taemin replied. Daehyun grabbed his tools and started pulling himself back along the safety line. When he reached the airlock, he looked back one more time. The Reaver had stopped about 100 meters away. It was just floating there, watching the station. Watching him. "It's not leaving," Ha-Yun's voice came over the comm. She was the station's xenobiologist. She sounded excited rather than scared. "Daehyun, I think you just did something impossible." "What's that?" "I think you just made friends with a Void Reaver." Daehyun cycled through the airlock and pulled off his helmet. Taemin was waiting for him, face red with anger. Woojin stood behind him, trying not to smile. The rest of the crew crowded around, all staring at Daehyun like he'd grown a second head. "That was the most reckless, idiotic, dangerous thing I have ever seen," Taemin said. Each word came out like a hammer blow. "Yeah," Daehyun agreed. He walked to the nearest window and looked out. The Reaver was still there, still waiting. But it worked. Outside in the cold darkness of space, the deadliest creature in the galaxy sat patiently by the door. Inside, Daehyun wondered what he was going to feed it tomorrow. 3 days passed, and the Void Reaver didn't leave. It stayed near the station, curled around a large asteroid about 50 meters from the main airlock. At first, everyone panicked. Taemin wanted to call for an extermination fleet. Half the crew wanted to evacuate. The other half just wanted to watch from a safe distance and see what would happen next. Daehyun named it Bomb. He wasn't sure why. The name just felt right. Like spring after a long winter. Like something new beginning. Every morning before his shift, he would suit up and take food outside. Not his own rations anymore. He'd traded favors and credit chips to get proper nutrition packs. The kind meant for exotic pets that rich people kept on the core worlds. Bomb would uncurl from its resting position, drift over, and eat carefully from Daehyun's hand. Well, not his hand exactly. Daehyun wasn't that brave yet. He used a long metal pole with a clip on the end. "You're insane," Woojin said, watching from the window. He was Daehyun's closest friend on the station. They'd started working here around the same time. Both of them were running from something. Neither of them talked about it. "That thing could bite you in half." "But it hasn't," Daehyun pointed out. He was watching Bomb through the window too. The creature was grooming itself, using its smaller front claws to clean between its scales. It looked almost domestic, almost normal. "I think it likes me. I think it likes that you feed it." There's a difference. Maybe Woojin was right, but Daehyun didn't think so. There was something in the way Bomb looked at him. Recognition, trust, things you couldn't fake, not even as a predator. Ha-Yun came rushing into the observation room, her tablet clutched against her chest. Her eyes were bright with excitement. She'd barely slept since Bomb arrived, spending all her time reviewing old research files and xenobiology reports. "I figured it out," she announced. "I know why Bomb hasn't killed anyone." "Because Daehyun fed it?" Woojin suggested. "More than that." Ha-Yun pulled up a holographic display. It showed a Void Reaver, but with biological systems highlighted. "Look at the brain structure. They're not mindless killing machines. They're actually highly intelligent, maybe more intelligent than we are." "Then why do they attack everything?" Daehyun asked. "Because we attack them first." Ha-Yun swiped through her files. "Every recorded encounter with Void Reavers starts the same way. They appear. We panic, we shoot. They defend themselves. Then it escalates. But what if we're the ones who started the cycle?" Taemin had joined them, though he didn't look convinced. "That's a nice theory. But it doesn't change the fact that thing out there is dangerous." "Everything's dangerous if you make it your enemy," Daehyun said. The argument might have continued, but an alarm cut through the station. Not the usual malfunction alarm. This was different. This was the security alert. "Pirates, Everyone rushed to the control room. The displays showed 3 ships approaching fast. They were small, poorly maintained, covered in mismatched hull plates. Pirate vessels. Out here on the frontier, they were common. Most stations paid them off or scared them away. But Kaltara 7 had been lucky until now. "This is Mining Station Kaltara 7. Time-in broadcast on all channels. We are a registered operation. Leave immediately or face consequences." The response came back full of static and laughter. "You're a mining station with minimal weapons and no military support. You'll give us your ore, your supplies, and anything else we want, or we'll take it from your corpses." Daehyun watched the ships getting closer. They were armed. Not heavily, but enough. The station's defenses were a joke. A couple of old mining lasers that had been repurposed. They might slow the pirates down, but they wouldn't stop them. "We need to evacuate," someone said. "There's not enough time," Taemin replied. His face had gone pale. "They'll be in weapons range in 2 minutes." Daehyun didn't think. He just moved. He ran to the airlock, ignoring the shouts behind him. He suited up faster than he ever had before and cycled through. Bomb was still resting on its asteroid, but its head came up as soon as Daehyun appeared. The creature moved toward him, graceful despite its size. It stopped right in front of him, close enough that Daehyun could have touched it without the pole. "Hey," Daehyun said softly. He knew Bomb couldn't hear him through the vacuum of space, but it felt important to talk anyway. "I need your help. Bad people are coming. They want to hurt my friends." Bomb tilted its head. Those yellow eyes studied him. Daehyun pointed at the approaching pirate ships. They were visible now, getting closer. Their weapons were charging, energy building along their hulls. "Stop them, please." For a long moment, nothing happened. Bomb just looked at him. Then it turned its massive head toward the pirate ships. Its body went still. Every muscle tensed. This was what a Void Reaver looked like before it hunted. This was the predator that had terrified the galaxy for centuries. Bomb launched itself forward with explosive force. It moved faster than anything that size should be able to move. One moment it was beside Daehyun. The next it was a black blur cutting through space. The pirates didn't even have time to react. Bomb hit the first ship like a meteor. Its claws ripped through the hull like paper. The ship spun out of control, atmosphere venting, engines dying. The second ship tried to turn, tried to run. Bomb's tail whipped out, spikes tearing across its side. More venting. More damage. The third ship actually got a shot off. A plasma bolt that would have destroyed most targets. It hit Bomb square in the chest and did nothing. The creature's scales absorbed the impact, glowing faintly for a moment before fading back to black. Bomb grabbed that ship in its jaws and shook it like a dog with a toy. Metal screamed and crumpled. Then Bomb threw it away, sending it tumbling back the way it had come. The message was clear. Leave and don't come back. All 3 pirate ships retreated, limping away on damaged engines. The entire fight had lasted less than 30 seconds. Bomb returned to the station, moving slowly now. It came right up to where Daehyun still floated by the airlock, too shocked to move. The creature made that chirping sound again. Softer this time, almost questioning. Daehyun reached out. His hand was shaking, but he pressed it against Bomb's snout. The scales felt warm through his glove, solid, real. "Good," he whispered. "You did good." When he cycled back through the airlock, the entire crew was waiting. Hyun was crying with relief. Woojin grabbed him in a hug that nearly cracked his ribs. Even Taemin looked different. Less angry, more thoughtful. "That thing saved us," someone said. "Not a thing," Daehyun corrected quietly. "Bomb. Its name is Bomb." Taemin stepped forward. He looked at Daehyun for a long time, then nodded slowly. "All right. Bomb can't stay near the station. But if anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong," Daehyun promised. That night he stood at the window and watched Bomb settle back onto its asteroid. The creature looked different to him now. Not a monster, not a pet, something else, something better. A friend. Outside, Bomb seemed to feel his gaze. It turned its head toward the window and made that chirping sound. Daehyun couldn't hear it through the station walls, but he imagined he could. "What have you started?" Woojin asked, standing beside him. "I don't know," Daehyun admitted. "But I think it might be something good." He was right. But he had no idea just how big that something would become. The news spread fast. Within a week, everyone in the sector knew about the human who had tamed a Void Reaver. Within 2 weeks, the galactic news networks were running stories. Some called it a miracle. Others called it a hoax. A few called it the most dangerous thing a human had ever done, which was saying something considering humanity's reputation. The military arrived on the 15th day. 3 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and took up positions around Kaltara 7. Daehyun watched them from the observation deck, his stomach twisting into knots. Bomb was curled on its asteroid, apparently unbothered by the new arrivals. But Daehyun knew better. He could see the tension in the creature's body, the way its tail swayed slowly back and forth. Bomb was ready to fight if it needed to. Admiral Ji-won came aboard with a squad of soldiers. She was human, which surprised Daehyun. Somehow he'd expected them to send an alien, someone who didn't understand how humans thought. But Ji-won looked at him with eyes that had seen too much combat and not enough sleep. "You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the dumbest," she said by way of greeting. "Can't it be both?" Daehyun replied. She didn't smile. "That thing out there has killed thousands of people. Entire colonies wiped out, and you're treating it like a pet. Bomb's not a pet, and Bomb hasn't killed anyone who didn't attack first. Yet." Ji-won turned to look out the window. "The council wants me to separate you from it. Run tests. Figure out what makes it different. Figure out if we can replicate this or if you're just an anomaly. I won't let you hurt Bomb. I'm not sure you have a choice." Before Daehyun could respond, another voice cut in. It was strange, clicking and whistling in ways human vocal cords couldn't manage. The translator in Daehyun's ear turned it into words. "Actually, he does have a choice. We all do." The speaker was an alien, its body covered in a chitinous exoskeleton that shifted colors as it moved. Dr. Hyun-soo, the xenopsychologist. It had come with the military fleet but seemed to have its own agenda. "This is a military matter," Ji-won said coldly. "This is a first contact matter," Hyun-soo corrected. "You treat it like a military problem, you'll get a military solution. Which means death. I'd like to try something different. Like maybe not ruining the greatest xenobiological breakthrough in 1,000 years." Ji-won and Hyun-soo stared at each other. The tension in the room could have powered the station's reactors. Finally, Ji-won sighed. "Fine, you get 48 hours. If nothing goes wrong, we do this your way. If anything goes wrong, I'm bringing in the heavy weapons." Daehyun didn't realize he'd been holding his breath until it came out in a rush. The next 2 days were the strangest of Daehyun's life. Hyun-soo set up equipment all around the station's exterior. Cameras, sensors, audio recorders adapted for vacuum. Everything was designed to observe without interfering. Daehyun went about his normal routine. Feed Bomb, talk to Bomb, work on the station's endless maintenance problems, try to pretend there weren't 3 warships watching his every move. Hyun worked with Hyun-soo, the 2 scientists trading theories and ideas like old friends. Daehyun caught pieces of their conversations. Look at the neural patterns. It's processing information at incredible speeds. But not just processing. It's learning, adapting. Watch how it responds to Daehyun's body language. There's emotional bonding happening here. Real attachment. This isn't just food-motivated behavior. On the second day, Hyun-soo asked Daehyun to try something new. "Can you teach it a command? Something simple?" Daehyun suited up and went outside. Bomb was already moving toward him, eager as always. He held up his hand in what he hoped was a clear gesture. "Stay," he said, even though Bomb couldn't hear him. Bomb tilted its head. Daehyun repeated the gesture, firmer this time. He took a step back. Then another. Bomb started to follow, then stopped, watched. After a moment, it settled back down onto the asteroid. "Good," Daehyun said. He pulled out a treat and tossed it. Bomb caught it with casual precision. They practiced for an hour. Stay. Come. Follow. Stop. By the end, Bomb was responding to hand signals with accuracy that shocked everyone watching. "Impossible," one of the soldiers muttered. "Not impossible," Hyun-soo corrected. "Just unexpected. Which means everything we thought we knew about Void Reavers is wrong." That night, Hyun-soo presented its findings to the assembled crew and military personnel. The holographic display showed anatomical details, behavioral patterns, social structures. Void Reavers are not mindless predators, Hyun-soo explained. They're a social species with complex pack dynamics. They hunt cooperatively. They communicate through subsonic frequencies we never thought to monitor. And most importantly, they imprint on pack leaders when young. "So Bomb thinks Daehyun is its parent?" Woo-jin asked. "More like its alpha. Its pack leader." Hyunsu switched to a new display. This one showed historical records of Void Reaver encounters. Look at the pattern. Almost every aggressive encounter involves juveniles or lone adults. Never stable packs. Because we've been hunting them for centuries. Killing the adults. Orphaning the young. Creating generations of traumatized, socialization-deprived individuals who lash out at anything that resembles a threat. The room went silent. Daehyun felt sick. All those deaths. All that fear. And it had been a misunderstanding from the beginning. So what do we do? Jiwon asked. She looked tired. Older than she had when she arrived. We stop hunting them, Hyunsu said. We reach out. We try to build bridges instead of walls. And we start with Bam and Daehyun. The council will never agree, someone said. The council doesn't have a choice, Ha-yoon cut in. She pulled up a new display. This footage went viral an hour ago. 2 billion views across the network. Bam saving the station from pirates. Bam responding to commands. Bam being gentle with Daehyun. The entire galaxy is watching. If the council orders Bam killed now, there will be riots. Daehyun stared at the numbers. 2 billion views. He'd fed a hungry creature, and somehow that had changed everything. Jiwon stood up. All right. We do this carefully. Slowly. And if at any point this becomes dangerous, it won't. Daehyun interrupted. You can't promise that. I can. Because Bam trusts me, and I trust Bam. The Admiral studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. 48 hours is up. We'll stay in the sector. Monitor the situation. But I won't separate you. Not yet. After everyone left, Daehyun went to the observation deck. Bam was already looking toward the window. Somehow, the creature always knew when he was watching. You're famous now, Daehyun said to the glass. Everyone in the galaxy knows your name. Bam made that chirping sound. Softer now. Comfortable. I hope I'm doing the right thing, Daehyun whispered. I hope I'm not making a mistake. But deep down he knew he wasn't. This was right. This was important. This was what the galaxy needed. Not more fear, not more walls between species, just a human and a creature sharing food. Building trust. Proving that maybe, just maybe, the scariest monsters weren't monsters at all. Behind Daehyun, unnoticed on the comm system, a priority message was coming in. It was marked urgent. It was from a radical group that called themselves the Purity Collective, and it promised that humans who consorted with abominations would be dealt with. Permanently. The war that nobody wanted was about to begin. And Daehyun stood right at the center of it, unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. The Purity Collective arrived without warning. One moment the space around Kaltara 7 was empty, except for Admiral Jiwon's 3 warships. The next moment, 20 vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel and formed a blockade. They weren't military ships, not officially, but they were armed like warships and organized like a fleet. This is Commander Kyung-sik of the Purity Collective. The transmission began. We are here to enforce galactic law. The human known as Daehyun has violated protocol by domesticating a hostile species. The creature designated Bam must be destroyed immediately. Daehyun will be taken into custody to face trial. Admiral Jiwon's response was immediate. This is Admiral Jiwon of the Galactic Defense Force. Kaltara 7 is under military protection. Any hostile action will be met with force. Leave this sector immediately. You choose to defend a criminal, a human who threatens the safety of every civilized world? Kyung-sik's voice dripped with contempt. Then you are as guilty as he is. The Purity Collective ships moved into attack formation. Jiwon's warships powered up their weapons. And caught in the middle was the mining station with its crew of 47 people who had never asked to be at the center of a war. Daehyun stood in the command center, watching the displays with growing horror. Bam was outside, agitated. The creature could sense the danger. Its tail lashed back and forth. Its claws gouged marks in the asteroid it perched on. We need to evacuate, Taemin said. For once he didn't sound angry. Just scared, there's no time, Jiwon replied. She was on the screen broadcasting from her flagship. My ships will hold them off as long as we can. But they outnumber us 6-1. If you have any emergency protocols, now's the time. Woo Jin grabbed Daehyun's arm. This is because of Bam, because of what you did. I know, Daehyun said quietly. He felt hollow inside, empty. I know. So what do we do? Daehyun looked at his friend, then at Ha-yoon, who was frantically typing at her console, at Taemin, who was trying to organize an evacuation that wouldn't work. At all the people who had become his family over the past 2 years. People who were about to die because he had decided to feed a hungry creature. "I'll surrender," he said. "I'll go with them. Tell them they can have me if they leave Bomb alone." "They'll kill you both," Hyun said without looking up from her screen. "Maybe. But maybe it'll buy you time to escape." Before anyone could argue, Hyun made a noise of triumph. "I found something." Bomb's been transmitting. The whole time we've been watching it, it's been calling out on subsonic frequencies, and something's been answering. "What do you mean, something?" Jiwon demanded. Hyun pulled up a new display. It showed space around the asteroid field, but with audio frequencies visualized as colors. Blue was quiet. Red was loud. And there at the edge of the display were spots of brilliant crimson growing brighter. Growing closer, Bomb called for help, Hyun whispered. "And help is coming." The first Void Reaver appeared near one of Jiwon's warships. Then another. Then 5 more. Within minutes, dozens of the creatures materialized from the asteroid field, from behind planets, from the dark spaces between stars. They moved together, coordinated and purposeful. The Purity Collective fleet panicked. Ships started firing wildly. Plasma bolts and missiles streaked through space, most missing their targets. The few that hit bounced off the Reavers' scales or were absorbed without effect. But the Reavers didn't attack. They just surrounded the station, creating a living barrier between it and the hostile fleet. One Reaver was larger than the others, bigger even than the ones in the military training videos. Its scales were covered in scars, evidence of countless battles survived. This creature was ancient, powerful, terrifying. It moved toward the station slowly, and Daehyun's heart stopped. This was it. This was how he died. Crushed by the very species he'd tried to help. But the massive Reaver didn't attack the station. It approached Bomb. The 2 creatures touched snout to snout. Bomb made sounds that translated as joy through Hyun's equipment. The large Reaver wrapped itself around Bomb protectively, possessively. "That's Bomb's mother," Hyun breathed. "She's been looking for her baby this whole time." Daehyun suited up before anyone could stop him. He cycled through the airlock and pushed himself toward Bomb and the massive Reaver. He could hear Taemin screaming at him to come back. Could hear Jiwon ordering him to retreat, but he didn't stop. He came to a halt a few meters from the 2 creatures. Bomb chirped happily and moved toward him, but the mother blocked the way. She lowered her enormous head and stared at Daehyun with eyes like molten gold. She could kill him with a thought. Swallow him whole. Tear him apart. Instead, she dipped her head, just slightly. The same gesture Bomb had made that first day. Recognition, respect, gratitude. Daehyun reached out slowly and placed his hand on her scarred snout. She was warm even through the glove. Alive and real and not a monster. "I kept your baby safe," he said, knowing she couldn't hear him but hoping she understood anyway. The mother Reaver pulled back and made a sound. It was deeper than Bomb's chirping, resonant, and every other Reaver around the station responded. The sound traveled through the vacuum in subsonic waves that Daehyun felt in his bones. Then the Reavers moved. Not toward the station, toward the Purity Collective fleet. They didn't attack with claws or teeth. They simply positioned themselves around each hostile ship, boxing them in, making it clear that any aggression would be met with overwhelming force. Kyung-sik's voice came over the open channel, no longer confident. Now panicked. "Fall back. All ships fall back." The Purity Collective fleet retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speed as soon as they were clear. The Reavers didn't pursue. They just watched them go, making sure the threat was ended. Then, slowly, most of the Reavers dispersed. They melted back into the asteroid field, returning to wherever they had come from. But a handful remained. Bomb's mother, 3 others that looked like siblings or packmates. They settled around the station, creating a permanent guard. Daehyun returned inside to find the entire crew staring at him in silence. Admiral Jiwon was still on the screen, her expression unreadable. "You just ended a conflict that's lasted 1,000 years, she said finally. "I just fed a hungry creature," Daehyun replied. "Same thing, apparently." Over the next few hours, messages flooded in from across the galaxy. Some celebrated, others condemned. But everyone agreed on one thing. Nothing would ever be the same. Humans had made first peaceful contact with the galaxy's most feared species, and they'd done it not with weapons or diplomacy, but with simple kindness. That night, Daehyun stood at the window and watched Bomb play with its mother and packmates. The creatures tumbled through space like oversized puppies, clearly happy to be reunited. What happens now? Woojin asked, joining him. I don't know, Daehyun admitted, but I think it's going to be interesting. The council is already talking about establishing diplomatic relations with Void Reavers. They want you to be the ambassador. Daehyun laughed. I'm a mechanic. I fix broken things. Yeah, Woojin said, smiling. You do. Outside, Bomb looked toward the window and made that familiar chirping sound. Daehyun pressed his hand against the glass. Bomb pressed its snout to the other side. Two completely different species connected by something simple. Trust. The war was over before it really began. But the real work, the work of building something new, was just starting. 6 months had changed everything. Kaltara 7 was no longer just a mining station. It had become something bigger, something important. The Galactic Council had designated it as the first interspecies research and cooperation facility. Ships arrived, daily from every corner of known space, bringing scientists, diplomats, journalists, and curious civilians who wanted to witness the impossible. The station itself had been expanded 3 times. New modules, new docking bays, new everything. What had once housed 47 people now accommodated over 300. And outside, in the carefully monitored space around the station, lived a pack of 23 Void Reavers. Bomb had grown. It was bigger now, stronger, but still came to Daehyun every morning for breakfast. The ritual hadn't changed even though everything else had. Daehyun would suit up, go outside, and Bomb would drift over, making that same chirping sound. Like greeting an old friend. Daehyun wasn't a simple mechanic anymore. Officially, he was listed as First Contact Specialist. Unofficially, everyone just called him the Reaver Whisperer. It was a stupid name, but it had stuck. His job now was to teach other humans how to work with the Reavers, how to communicate, how to build trust. It wasn't easy. Not every human had Daehyun's natural empathy. Not every Reaver was as patient as Bomb. There had been incidents, misunderstandings, a few injuries when someone moved too fast or read the signals wrong. But nobody had died, which everyone agreed was a miracle. You're wanted in the council chamber, Hyun said, poking her head into Daehyun's quarters. He groaned. Council meetings were the worst part of his new job. Hours of different species, arguing about protocols and procedures while he just wanted to be outside with the Reavers. But he went anyway because that's what the job required. The council chamber was crowded. Admiral Ji-won was there, now permanently assigned to the station. Tae-min had been promoted to station director and wore the responsibility like heavy armor. Dr. Hyun-soo sat beside several other xenobiologists, and at the head of the table sat Ambassador Min-ho, a human diplomat who had arrived 2 months ago to oversee the political side of things. We have a situation, Min-ho began, without preamble. 3 mining colonies in the Outer Rim have reported Reaver sightings. The colonists are terrified. They're demanding military protection. Are the Reavers attacking? Daehyun asked. No, they're just there, watching, but the colonists remember the old stories. They think it's only a matter of time. So what do you want from me? Min-ho leaned forward. Go there, take Bomb, show them what you've shown us, that Reavers aren't monsters. That's asking a lot, Ji-won said. If something goes wrong, then we're back where we started, Daehyun finished. Afraid and alone. I'll do it. The journey to the Outer Rim took 3 days aboard a modified transport ship. They'd had to remove most of the cargo hold to make space for Bomb, who found the whole experience fascinating. The creature spent hours, pressed against the viewing ports watching stars streak by. Woojin had insisted on coming along. Someone needs to watch your back, he'd said. Make sure you don't do anything too stupid. I thought stupid was my specialty. It is. That's why you need supervision. They arrived at the first colony, a small settlement on a frozen moon called Dal Rey. The colonists had barricaded themselves inside their habitats. Armed guards stood at every entrance. When Daehyun's ship landed, nobody came out to greet them. He had to go to them. He walked through the snow with Wu Jin beside him and Bomb following at a careful distance. The guards raised their weapons when they saw the Reaver, but Dae-hyun held up his hands. "We're here to help," he called out. The colony leader was a woman named Yoonji. She was young, maybe 30, with the hard look of someone who had survived too much. She agreed to meet with Dae-hyun, but only inside the colony's main hall with guards present. "You brought that thing here?" she demanded. "Are you insane?" "Probably," Dae-hyun admitted. "But Bomb isn't dangerous. None of them are if you don't threaten them first. Tell that to the people who died when Reavers attacked the inner colonies 20 years ago. Those were orphaned juveniles who were defending themselves. It's different now. We understand them better." Eunji laughed bitterly. Understanding doesn't bring back the dead. She was right, and Dae-hyun knew it. He couldn't change the past, couldn't undo the fear and pain that generations of conflict had created, but maybe he could change the future. "Let me show you," he said. "Give me 1 hour. If you still think Bomb is dangerous after that, we'll leave." Eunji considered this, then she nodded slowly. They went outside together. The colonists followed at a safe distance, weapons ready. Bomb was waiting in the snow, patient as always. When Dae-hyun approached, the creature made its greeting chirp. Several colonists gasped. "It sounds happy," someone whispered. "It is happy," Dae-hyun confirmed. He went through the commands. "Sit, stay, come." Bomb responded perfectly to each one. Then Dae-hyun did something he'd been practicing for weeks. He climbed onto Bomb's back. The colonists shouted in alarm. Guards raised their weapons, but Bomb just stood there, steady and calm, letting Dae-hyun settle into position between its shoulder plates. "The Reavers you've seen aren't here to attack," Dae-hyun explained. "They're scouts. They're checking if this area is safe. If you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone, but if you shoot first, they'll defend themselves. The choice is yours." He spent the rest of the day working with the colonists, showing them Bomb's body language, teaching them the warning signs of an aggressive Reaver versus a curious one, explaining that the creatures used subsonic communication that humans couldn't hear but could learn to feel. By evening, some of the colonists were actually approaching Bomb, carefully, nervously, but approaching. A young boy threw a ball and Bomb caught it gently in its jaws and brought it back. The boy laughed, and the sound seemed to break something in the adults. Fear turned to wonder. "This doesn't fix everything," Yoonji said as Dae-hyun prepared to leave. "There's still a lot of fear out here." "I know, but fear gets smaller when you face it. When you realize the monster isn't really a monster at all." They visited 6 more colonies over the next 2 weeks. The pattern was always the same. Fear, demonstration, understanding, slow acceptance. Not everyone was convinced. Some people held on to their hatred too tightly to let go, but most were willing to try. When they returned to Kaltara 7, Dae-hyun was exhausted, but also hopeful. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, painfully, but changing. Ha-yoon met him at the docking bay with news. 3 more Reaver packs have made contact. They want to establish cooperation agreements, trade, technology exchange. They're not just animals, Dae-hyun. They have culture, science, art. We've been so busy being afraid that we never bothered to look. That night, Dae-hyun stood at his usual window. Bomb and its pack were outside, playing in the way Reavers played. Rough and tumbling, but never truly violent. Bomb's mother was there too, watching over them like mothers everywhere watch their children. "You know the whole galaxy thinks humans are insane now," Wu Jin said, joining him with 2 drinks. "They thought that anyway. True, but now they think we're the friendly kind of insane, the kind that makes impossible things possible." Dae-hyun accepted the drink and smiled. "I just fed a hungry creature. You did more than that. You changed everything." Had he? Dae-hyun wasn't sure. He'd just done what felt right, what felt human, seeing something scared and hurt and offering help instead of violence. That wasn't special. That was just basic decency. But maybe that was the point. Maybe HFY weapons or their cleverness. Maybe it was their stubborn refusal to accept that some problems couldn't be solved with compassion. A new signal appeared on the long-range sensors. Another ship approaching the station. Hyun checked her tablet and laughed. It's a Reaver transport. They built a ship, and they're asking permission to dock. The galaxy kept changing. Kept the center of it all was a human mechanic and the creature he'd fed on a cold day in space. Two different species who had looked past fear and found something better. Outside, Bom looked toward the window. Even after 6 months, the creature always knew when Daehyun was watching. It made that chirping sound, the one that meant safety. Family. Home. Daehyun pressed his hand to the glass. Bom pressed its snout to the other side. A human and a Reaver, separated by metal and vacuum but connected by something stronger. Trust, friendship, love, the simple things that changed worlds. A shooting star streaked across the void. Except it wasn't a star. It was another young Reaver approaching the station cautiously. Lost or curious, or maybe just lonely. Daehyun sighed and reached for his supply of nutrition packs. Some things never changed. And maybe that was okay. Maybe the galaxy needed people who would keep feeding the hungry, keep helping the lost, keep choosing compassion when fear would be easier. Woo Jin raised his drink in a toast. To the crazy humans who make friends with monsters. Daehyun clinked his glass against his friends. To finding out there were no monsters, just creatures waiting for someone to care. Outside, Bom and its pack settled down for the night. Inside, the station hummed with life and possibility. And somewhere in between a bridge had been built, not with metal or technology, but with patience and understanding and a few shared meals. The universe was vast and dark and full of unknowns, but it was.